Hey, everybody, welcome to the Digging Up Dillinger podcast. I'm your host, Joe Malillo. And as always, I introduce the team Todd Hiles, Stuart Fillmore, and Travis Thompson. What's up, fellas?
What's happening,
Hey,
guys?
hello, everybody.
Again,
Yes.
episode 6 for us. And it's been a couple of days from the last recording that we've had, but we're excited to get back to you. We got a lot of things to talk about today. We are going to continue on the Filmore report. We're going to go into a little bit of details about the Filmore report. This is an extensive report. It's going to take us multiple episodes to get this done, but we've gone over the ears, the eyes, the kind of physical features such as moles. It's interesting stuff that we've talked about, but what you guys don't see and what you don't listen to every week when we do these podcasts is we're actually talking to each other outside of the podcast in a group
Yeah.
chat that we're all really interested in this case. I mean, this is a live historical investigation during the week. We're finding different things to go after, but Travis actually texted the group. And Travis, what did you say? You said you wanted to set the record straight about something we podcast the other day.
Yeah, I want us to, be very transparent to the viewers and our fans here that I had made a mistake. I am human.
God,
I had
Travis.
Yeah. I know, right? I was talking to my father, Mike Thompson, and I was discussing when the timeline of who went up to Chicago to identify the body. What happened was an actual Indianapolis Star reporter contacted my grandfather, and him and the brother Hubert then went to Chicago, did everything that I said before, got pulled into the side room, didn't say it was him, changed the story, said it was him. Audrey was home and then identified the body once it came back to Mooresville. So I had to, talk to my father and refresh my memory, so I got it straight, and there's the right answer. So, like, we may do this again. We are human. I mean, this is a 90-year-old case. There's going to be times that we mismember stuff, especially how immersive we've been in with the present stuff we have found and in the past.
Yep.
So to be clear, Dillinger's sister identified the body when she was in Indianapolis,
Yes, once the
not
body came
gone
back.
up to Chicago, because we discussed how fast how did she get up there so quick, and she never went. So we're sorry. Come at us in the comments if you want. We understand. We're okay. We're big boys. We can handle it.
Right.
But we're also, guys, Todd and Stuart, you can chime in here, but I'm the same way as Travis. Like, there's nothing. We're not hiding anything. This
Exactly.
just
No.
is
you're
what
right.
it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of details to this case that, and from time to time as we go through this, and we're just talking, we're pretty much off the cuff here, and we don't, we're honest, we're open, and we're talking about this as something that's passionate. But if we misspeak, hey, we're going to acknowledge it and be transparent about it, because we don't have anything to hide. We want to get to the truth of this, whatever the truth is, and that's just what it is. So, yeah, it's no, I appreciate that, Travis, for bringing that up.
Yeah. Anytime I say something wrong, I am a family member, but I do get it wrong.
Yep.
Call me out in the comments. I have no problem with that.
Yep.
Well, also don't forget, as a former journalist myself, I guess you could call me a journalist still, but as a former TV reporter, I would have to put in my web stories, hey, there has been a change or an update to this story. It's okay. I mean, there are going to be updates for this one, but that's the kind of stuff that we'll get correct as we go along. So appreciate you, Travis. Way to go.
Yeah.
And again, Travis, you mentioned that you talked to your father. Just let listeners know again who your father is.
Yeah, my father is Dillinger's actual nephew, the closest living relative besides my aunt, Carol. So yeah, that's who he is, and that's where I'm getting my information from. And he will be on the podcast at some time as a guest. So we look forward to that.
Yeah,
Can't
we
wait.
plan on having a few guests too. We're going to work on possibly a fingerprint expert, some other kind of pathologist. I don't know. We'll see what we get. But Mike is number one on our list. We're going to get him here soon enough. But so one of the things we did talk about this week was this video, because we find these videos online, right, guys, like of different things. what was it last week? What did we find another video, or what did we find last week? It was like a
Well, I think we had talked about that, in really wishing we could find, recording of Dillinger's
that's
voice.
right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're
The
doing a lot
yeah.
of digging on YouTube to see if anybody, and then we found, oh, I remember what we watched. We found two older ladies who claim to be at one of the bank robberies, and it's on YouTube, and it's got like 45,000 views over the last 12 years. But it's like two older ladies, and one's clearly the daughter, one's clearly the elderly lady, is
Yeah.
the mom, and she was there across the street. But then her, like, some of the contradictory things, and it's funny because witness testimony is huge in a lot of what you guys do. And what do
Yeah.
we all always
It
say
is.
about witness testimony? It's terrible in court.
It can be, yes, it really can. Yeah, I think that most likely that the lady was there, but over time, details can get fuzzy, things can just kind of change and get shuffled in your mind, and especially something like this Dillinger case that there was a lot of reporting about at the time, and then over time, I think the witness can maybe mix up what they heard with what they actually saw. Not that she's lying or anything like that, but just in the course of a couple of sentences, I think she actually contradicted herself a little bit and kind of described some things that just would, from her vantage point, would have been hard to see what she said.
Yeah, yeah. And is it true what I'm saying though? Like, witness testimony is the least reliable test evidence out there.
Well, yes and no. I mean, it can be. I mean, certainly, I wouldn't want to make a case strictly on eyewitness testimony. That my whole case is based on that my witness identifies this person as the bad guy in it. I certainly would want other corroborating information, circumstantial evidence, so to speak, because witness testimony is direct evidence, and we always think of, that, oh, well, direct evidence, in circumstantial evidence is somehow to not be considered
Inferior.
reliable or inferior.
Yeah.
But the truth is, most cases are made with circumstantial evidence, and circumstantial evidence will, in fact, actually corroborate many times the direct testimony of a witness. And they may get some details
This guy,
wrong and so
Stewart.
forth, but
You're just the
um,
best, dude. Like, this is why, I mean, like, I just dropped this knowledge on us. I love it, dude.
But take something as simple as when Dillinger shot in the alley. How many FBI agents say that he whispered something? Other agents that were standing right there said
Yeah.
he didn't whisper anything.
yeah,
And,
right.
and now you can search and you can see,
The
50% of people say he said something, 50% said he didn't say something.
Yep,
Sure.
The
yep.
classic
It's just kinda
case of the
strange.
telephone game.
Say
I
it again,
tend to- I-
Travis.
It's the classic case of the telephone game, just 90 years later.
Yeah.
I tend to think that Dillinger didn't say anything because if you read the autopsy report, a 45 caliber bullet traveled straight up his neck and right out beneath his eye. So
What about a death rattle?
I think he might have still been breathing at that. In fact, I know he was breathing, and we can get into that kind of stuff later on. But I don't think he was conscious.
Gotcha. He wasn't conscious. Oh man. Okay. So, witness testimony, old ladies, go watch the video on YouTube. But we are going to watch a video real quick. And this is the video of Anna Sage. Looks like after the an interview after John's death. So it's really interesting.
Joe, do we want to refresh real quickly who
Oh.
Anna Sage was?
Yeah, please.
So, many people
I'll
that
pull
are
her up as you're telling her.
that are familiar with the Dillinger case, and maybe some that aren't familiar with it, have probably heard of the Lady in Red. And Anna Sage is the so-called Lady in Red. She was a Romanian illegal immigrant who was a madam. And the official story is Dillinger was staying with her, and she dined him out to the FBI and said, "Hey, Dillinger's going to go to a movie tonight. I'm going to be with him, and I'm going to be wearing an orange dress." Apparently, in the lights of the theater, of the marquee and everything, the dress appeared red, and so that's how that came about. So what we're showing here is maybe her account of how Dillinger was taken down, at the Biograph Theater in Chicago.
But just add to that, she did this so that she could stay in the United States. That she
Yeah,
set up public
that
enemy
was
number one.
yeah.
But she wasn't allowed. They actually kicked her
No.
out of the United
Yeah,
States
they did.
after this.
Yeah, it was a few years later. It wasn't immediately, but yeah, they had told her apparently that they'll see what they can do if they can help her out with the immigration stuff. But yeah, she still got deported.
To me,
Let's
they
just look
deported her to
at her.
cover her up.
Say again.
Maybe they deported her to cover up her story.
Yeah.
That's true. This picture of John in the beginning too. It's like interesting. It's him behind bars looking around.
Yeah, I don't know if that's at Crown Point or if that's in Tucson.
That's in Tucson.
Okay.
All right. So everybody, can you guys hear it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I learned he was Dillinger, I knew he had been killing without mercy. So I went to a policeman I knew, and he arranged a conference with the government agents. So July 22nd, I called Mr. Purvis, and I told him that Dillinger was going to a show.
That was it. That's part of the documentary that this got
Yeah.
cut from.
So again, it listed her as Anna Sage, and that's what we call her. That's what she's known as in history. But that was actually not her real name. Her name was Anna with an A-N-A, Campagnas, and I'm probably not saying it correctly. But that actually is going to play into something that I wrote up in that report. When a man a few years later in 1959 wrote a letter claiming to be Dillinger, he refers to her as Anna Campanis by her real name, and at the time that her real name was not publicly known that widely.
So that's a little tidbit of information that only John Dillinger would really know.
Possibly. It's not definitive like almost anything in this case, but it's a little pearl, and there's an old saying that once you as far as when you have enough evidence to charge somebody, it's like a pearl necklace. You add one at a time, and eventually you get enough pearls on a string, you got a necklace. So it's just a little pearl that possibly may mean something.
So go ahead.
I was going to say, when I text that to the group today, what I saw right away was her eyes, how they dart, back and forth, like she's almost reading that script, what she's saying.
I would completely agree with that.
Yeah, what do you say, Stuart? Because I disagree.
Yeah. So, again, she probably that was probably the first time in her life she'd ever been on a camera, a movie camera. Probably had never spoken like that, been interviewed in any kind of formal sense like that. She possibly could be reading cue cards, because it does seem to be somewhat stiff in her presentation.
Yeah.
My impression in looking at it is that there's someone off camera that she's kind of seeing that maybe is moving or is maybe encouraging her to keep talking, or that's what I want to hear, or something like that.
Maybe the FBI making sure she put the right narrative out.
And we don't know actually who commissioned this film, whether it was the media or the FBI.
And that's obviously something that could have that has a huge impact on what she's saying, how she's saying it. But I'm in disagreeing. I don't think she's reading from a cue card. I think that from a journalistic perspective, and granted, we don't know if it's a journalistic organization that took this video or if it was the FBI or somebody putting it out for some sort of propaganda or just information, and having her recap what she thought or what she said. And her words are very scripted. Like, it sounds scripted, but then again, that whole thing with being on camera the first time and she's got a light in her face or whatever is happening. And they're probably saying, like, you're saying the right things, just say it again and say it again and say it again. Now, wait, hold on. Last thing, Stuart. Then on top of it, when you're doing an interview, you're always off to the side, off camera. You're interviewing somebody one-on-one, and the camera's to your right and looking over the reporter's shoulder. That's a one shot. That's what it's always is. So for me, her looking that direction and then darting back to the camera is just her not being used to having a camera on her and looking at the camera and then looking off to the reporter or whoever is asking a question. Could be the FBI, like you're saying, Travis. But anyway, that was my take on it.
They may have told her, "Hey, I'm going to ask you the question. When you answer, look at the camera," and then so she's maybe answering the question and then kind of looking back to the interviewer to think to get some indication, "Hey, did I answer that for you?" But overall, her demeanor to me, it almost seems like a hostage film, to be frank.
Dude, look at
Yes.
just watch her eyes real quick. Just watch her eyes. Are they going all the way across and down and all the way across and down and like you would be reading, or are they going to two separate points, which is my whole point with I'm very into this right
to
now.
me, it looks like two separate points, which means that
Look-
she's probably looking at the interviewer.
Well, let me ask you this: from the night that Dillinger shot, when does the story come out that Anna set him up? Does the FBI tell that the very next morning? Do they tell it months later?
Yeah, no,
I mean,
no, no.
what happens to her that night? Does she get taken into protective custody?
So it came out almost immediately. So that was not really anything that was suppressed. And excuse me, I'm adding to my bourbon right now. What happened that night is, for whatever reason, she wasn't detained. They didn't fully question her because they had just met her that day. It was a Sunday. They had just met her, that day and got the information about Dillinger. Clearly, that was the priority. But then, when this is over, man, you need to have a full debriefing with her. And I would say do it right then. But nonetheless, they let her go. She goes back to, the apartment where Dillinger's staying that she maintains. I don't know exactly what the living arrangements were, but it was not the apartment was on Halstead Street, not far from the Biograph Theater, and she just cleaned out anything that was there that Dillinger had, because a couple of weeks later, some boys swimming in Lake Michigan, just down from where the apartment would have been, the closest path to Lake Michigan. These boys swimming find 2 Thompson submachine guns, a 45 automatic pistol, a couple of ballistic vests, maybe even some ammunition, and so clearly Anna Sage, and maybe, I don't know if she had an accomplice, but she dumped all that in the lake that night. Did Dillinger have any money? Whatever. And we know that she also was in cahoots, and we'll explain all this later, with a East Chicago, Indiana police officer named Martin Zarkovich, that very possibly, if once we get into the whole imposter thing, Zarkovich very possibly could have been involved in this thing. So it was really weird that they let Anna Sage go that night.
That's because the FBI was in its infancy and didn't have protocols like that, would you say?
But that is entirely reasonable, because and clearly the objective of the night was to get Dillinger. They apparently successfully did that, and that became the priority.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Anna Sage at that point, hey, she got us what we needed.
Did
Who
they
cares?
pay her the reward?
That's a good question, Todd. I don't remember. I'll have to double check on that, because there was an issue about the reward. And I want to say that she actually she had to split it with Zarkovich, because Zarkovich is the one that she actually told first of all, Zarkovich being the East Chicago police officer. And she told him about it first. He encouraged her, or he got in touch with the FBI and said, hey, I've got somebody that you guys may need to talk to. So I think they ended up splitting the reward, but I'll have to double check on that. I haven't read that stuff in a while.
Did the FBI ever think that Dillinger himself orchestrated all this, and that he got a imposter to go that night?
No. The Bureau never, if that was ever discussed or pondered, that was never anything that was put down on paper, and no indications of it. Because what we're going to find later on when we really go into this stuff is that a Indiana State Police trooper detective. I'm not sure exactly what his title was, named Matt Leach. He has some real problems and thinks that Zarkovich at a minimum had been protecting Dillinger and was corrupt, and that the Bureau should be looking into this. And the Bureau didn't want to have anything to do with it. They blackballed Matt Leach. In some accounts, actually did some stuff to kind of ruin his career. So, there's a whole lot to this that's not really public that I think is very, very questionable about this case.
When do we get into that, Stuart?
Yeah, when are we doing
Come on,
that?
Stuart. Is it in the Fillmore? Is that in the Fillmore report? Or is it Fillmore report part 2?
It's going to be part 2. You got to hang around for that.
Is it going to be the Fillmore Thompson-Hiles part 2 report or no?
Yes. Yeah.
What happened to Malillo? I don't get a piece of this pie.
The top billing.
Yeah. Fine, I'll just be the host. Jesus. You guys, also, clear ice is a thing for.
Yeah, pour your glass up again.
So,
what is that, Stuart?
okay, all right. So,
oh my gosh, you really can't see it.
Yeah, you can't see it in there now, and I can tell you in looking through it, like I can just see my hand straight through the glass. So, clear ice for anyone out there that's listening, that for your liquor or for any beverage that you want to use ice in, there's a process to clear ice, and I don't know if it would work so much with the John Dillinger beer. I've never been, I've never been one for ice in my beer, but
I did want to transition to a couple things. Stuart, you're always usually having a drink on the podcast.
Yes, I usually for those out there, I usually have a cocktail going for this because to me, this is relaxing. This is fun stuff. I'm really into it, and I really enjoy it. And so it's just a great experience for me. And so I usually will have an adult beverage as we go along.
And with that theme, we talked about this Dillinger Black Dog Brewing Public Enemy #1 Brown Ale from Mooresville, Indiana. So the brewery is right there. So Travis put this in the group chat, and I thought it was a good thing to mention. It looks really good. I kind of want to get some.
It's a good beer. It's a good one.
Life is rough. Down the road. It's just down the road from you, right, Travis?
Yeah, I mean, this is right down the road on State Road 67. I mean, it's probably not even 5 minutes outside of Mooresville.
So that's on that would be on the same road that Dillinger took when he began his 9-year prison sentence. He had to go down to Martinsville, just south of Mooresville, for that final ride going to the penitentiary.
And the interesting part is the store where you can go buy this at. It used to be a gun range.
Always a connection. There's always a connection.
There's so many connections on this thing.
And I feel like, Stuart, we want to definitely get you that beer somehow. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we got
yeah, absolutely. Hey, maybe they could be a sponsor to the show or something to start us out. I'd be more than happy to rate their beer right here on the show.
Oh yeah, I think we all could do that. Definitely drink a beer. Yep, the toast of the company. Yeah.
Not a sponsor yet. We will eventually here. We're aiming we're aiming for a lot of sponsors. If you're interested in sponsoring us, great, awesome.
Hey, I'm open to trying whatever they want to sample.
We all know that we're here for the money. You know, that's the whole point of this, is that we just want to.
We get so much out of this.
I'm here for that got brought up to me this week in one of my Facebook Messenger. You and your father are only after fame and fortune.
Who's saying this? What kind of people are saying this to you?
Just people out on the internet. People I don't know. They're just they find me, they message me this stuff, and my comeback is money and fame would be outstanding. I'm not gonna lie that it would be a great bonus, but uncovering history and rewriting history outweighs all the other. Immensely. And I'm like, why would you want to continue on your life knowing that this history possibly could be wrong?
I know. Exactly.
And then I get no response. So it's right. Yeah. It is what it is.
I mean, they think it's a canned response and that you're just saying that to say that. But Travis, I've known you for a long time, And I think every time I talk to you, you're asking me about money and fame and fortune and how can we get it?
Well, obviously, by how
Yeah.
we found this artifact, the map. I guess we got to dig for it.
Yeah, we got to dig. I want some bail bonds. I want some bonds, dude. I want some.
Some negotiable bonds.
Yeah, negotiable bonds, bail bonds. He's in jail. He's bailing himself out all the time.
I want the machine guns found in the lake. I
Yeah,
want to
what
know
are
what
those-
happened to those.
Well, I can tell you they were both returned to. One was from Lake County, Indiana, and the other was from, I believe, Porter County. And Dillinger stole them when he escaped from the Crown Point jail. And one of them, I forget which one. I think the Porter County one was used. Dillinger gave it to somebody else. It was used in another bank robbery. The Lake County one, golly, I'm forgetting where it. I want to say maybe Dillinger kept it. Oh man, I'm dropping this, but nonetheless, the Lake County Thompson submachine gun is back with Lake County at the sheriff's office. And when I was on the, or Travis and I were on the Expedition Unknown show back in 2021 about Dillinger and the map, I actually got to go up there with the host, Josh Gates, to the Lake County Sheriff's Office and their indoor range, and we shot that very Thompson submachine gun that was pulled out of the lake that Anna Sage had thrown in that night after Dillinger was killed.
And the other one is in Peru, Indiana. The Peru Police Department has it. Last time I knew, it was non-firing at the time because the ATF or something did something to it.
I promise you, the Lake County one is very much working because the Thompson, the Thompson submachine gun. It's a heavy machine gun. It doesn't have much because it's so heavy in the way it's designed. It doesn't have much recoil, so it doesn't like push into your shoulder very hard, but it rises on you. I just was not ready for how much that barrel would rise. And so when I fired off a couple in single action or just a single round phase of it, with one at a time. And then when I switched to full auto, I just wasn't ready. That thing just kind of like that. And I don't think I hit.
Tell me how it sounded again.
It was just, and I don't think I quite hit the ceiling, but I got to tell you, it was kind of embarrassing. It really was. But luckily, that did not make it on the show.
Yeah.
But
no, it was very nice that Sheriff Martinez let you fire that. He's a great guy and an awesome sheriff.
Yes, so yeah. It was really cool. It was really a lot of fun. I was just humbled to be able to have been able to do that.
Great stories, guys. We're killing it tonight. We're going off on all. If you thought you were going one direction tonight with us, you're in for a treat because we went all over the place. So here's the deal. We're going to spend the next 5 to 10 minutes going over the cardiovascular findings on the autopsy. I know that sounds pretty intense, but it's pretty a simple finding. Again, if you'd like a copy of this Dillinger report, Filmore report about John Dillinger, you can go to our link tree and sign up in our email, and we'll send you one via email.
And if you're a first-time listener, it's Stuart Fillmore is the author.
Yes, Stuart Fillmore is the author. Got it.
All right.
So, I'm going to share this screen, and then Stuart, why don't you just go tell us what you were thinking about it in general?
Okay, so one of the things that really jumps out when you read the autopsy report that is included in the FBI file of Dillinger in total was that the doctor described a very specific condition that the heart was in, which is effectively rheumatic heart disease caused by rheumatic heart fever from a childhood. It was a childhood problem that was very common in those days. And the result of it is some scarring or some lumps, I guess would be a good word, that are left on the inside valves of the heart. And what the effect of this is that the valves, the heart has some valves that open and close, and that the valves really don't close properly. And so this can create what's called a heart murmur. And it's not necessarily a fatal condition, but it's a condition that can make somebody prone to shortness of breath and not have a lot of stamina, can tire easily, especially with any kind of exertion. And so that clearly was one of the things. And I mean, the doctor goes into pretty good detail in the report, about his findings of it, and that is in complete opposition to what we know about Dillinger, is that he was very athletic. Many people have said that he was good enough to have turned pro in baseball. He certainly was a baseball player. We know that for sure. So he clearly was athletic enough and enjoyed it, because one of the things is he gets transferred from the juvenile prison to the big prison so that he can play on the baseball team. And he's also, he's in the prison for 9 years. In 9 years, I promise you, he was sick at some point and had to visit the infirmary. There's no record of indication of them finding this heart murmur, when he was at the infirmary in the prison, or when he had earlier had joined the Navy. In his initial reports, going into the Navy, the health screening that they would have done then. Now, that's not to say that it was that maybe that it was slight, maybe it wasn't detected, maybe the Navy, it was something they didn't care about. They just wanted bodies in. Same thing with the prison. Who cares? This guy's a prisoner. We're not gonna spend any time worrying about him. But one of the things that made Dillinger famous early on was the fact that he was called the Jackrabbit because he could vault over these bank counters and had apparently no indications of any physical distress or fatigue, from doing, from being in gunfights, escaping bank robberies, escaping jails. There's no account whatsoever of Dillinger having any kind of physical stress or fatigue that would be related to this heart condition.
Was this heart condition diagnosed usually at this time when they were children? Is that what you're saying? Did you say that before?
Well, I think it was common at the time that rheumatic fever was more of a childhood. It occurred more often in childhood than adulthood in those days. So that's my assumption, that this would have been something that he might have had from childhood. Again, and I don't think, and Travis, I don't know if there's maybe some family lore about this, that John was maybe sick when he was young or
And
something.
that's a great question for Mike Thompson. Write that one down.
Absolutely. Yeah. There you go.
I mean, the only thing I ever knew that he possibly could have been like asthmatic, because when they moved to the farm, I guess the environment caused them to have a lot of allergy type issues, but nothing I've ever heard. I mean, yeah, my dad would be a really good one because he talked to the rest of the family members, but ever hearing him have any major health issues other than maybe some allergies or, like asthma related to the allergies, that's it. That's the only thing I've ever heard.
I mean, you mentioned lupus in the report. Like that. I mean, these are serious conditions that are associated with what the findings showed on the autopsy.
Right. Exactly.
This is a huge thing for me. For when we first talked about this is a huge thing for me because
right.
someone who has this condition is not athletic, right?
Well, okay. So one of the things too that when
maybe I'm putting too much.
Well, when we were researching this, for TV, one of the producers that we worked with actually did get in touch with a cardiologist, and it was the opinion of this cardiologist that there's no way the body that they describe on this table could not have done all the things that we know Dillinger did, to be involved in these very, very stressful situations. But I, on my own, and certainly I'm not a doctor, but I have actually read a lot of research about this that actually that says the opposite, that someone with this condition isn't necessarily, it might be something they could go through life with and not really even know that they had it or that it would ever impair their life. So again, as I said earlier, there's nothing definitive on this. What we have to do is just go on circumstantially what what all it would,
That-
does it keep, do we keep adding pearls to the necklace? Do we, how does this add up in the context of everything?
I think we can look at like the Fillmore report. It's a baseball game, and you're in the first inning, and yeah, we might hit a home run with the eyes or the ears, but then something else comes up, and the visitors are going to bat again, and we still got the second, third, and fourth inning to go through.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is definitely a pickle.
It is. It really is. Because, like I said, my memory is that the cardiologist that we consulted about, for that was going to be on the TV show, just felt, whoever this was, that this autopsy portrays, had only years to live. It was so bad. So,
yeah, didn't they say something that the person would have had to have had help getting around, walking around?
Exactly. So,
but then you have the other side that says it's not that somebody else you could live with this condition like that. That's two different.
Well,
it's two different things.
Eyewitness testimony.
Well, it does, but let me clarify on that. One thing that comes back to is this was an actual cardiologist that our producer had contacted and talked to, and gave a copy of the autopsy report. The cardiologist read and studied that report. And then the other flip side that we're presenting here is what I found in just looking it up on my own. I'm not a doctor. I've just found other accounts where people have said, and not necessarily in the context of Dillinger, but that, is a rheumatic heart condition necessarily debilitating, depending on it. So depending on how bad it is, I guess. But again, that maybe this is something else we can do as we go along in the show is let's get a cardiologist on here. Let's let him read the specific things that Dr. Kearns laid out in the autopsy report, and let's get an opinion on it.
All right. So
I'm wide open to that.
If you're a cardiologist on the listening right now, or you have a friend who's a cardiologist and you like this podcast, send it to them. We'll invite them to our Zoom call.
Yes, bring it on. I'd love to get the input. Either side of the argument, we just want the input.
You know what I really love about you, Stuart, is that I gave you 5 minutes to make a point and you nailed it. You just absolutely dominated it. I love it. And
hey man, it's the bourbon.
It must be because talent like that doesn't come without lubrication. So I'm on it tonight, guys. Thanks for listening, folks. This is we're going to end the episode here. You're going to come back next week. We're going to keep going down the list here as we come along, and of the Dillinger report, the Stuart Fillmore report about John Dillinger. I keep calling it Dillinger report. We've called it. I've called it that pretty much the whole time I've known you. Has always been the Dillinger report.
Okay, I'll just tell you real quickly how the so-called Fillmore report came about. Is when Hollywood first told us the story of the map, we think you guys faked it. We want to study the imposter theory. I looked into it, and I started finding all these things that I just could not account for, in this imposter theory. So I just kind of started writing it down, and I thought, well, I'll make this in some format that if a producer or somebody, will have this to refer to. Plus, there was so much I was taking in, I didn't want to forget it myself. So that's really how it came about.
The original title was "There's Meat on the Bone." That's the original title.
Yes, well, that's the subtitle of it. The questions.
There's a lot more investigate.
Yes,
don't close this case.
Yes,
we'll leave it at that. A lot more to investigate, folks. You're going to come back for more. And as always, like, follow, share, and subscribe. And if you know a cardiologist, hit him up. We're interested. Digging up Dillinger at gmail.com.
Definitely.
Awesome, guys. All right, we'll see you on the next episode, folks. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.